Do you want ideas for using these cute little A2 paper pads? Hi, I'm Jess from JessCrafts.com and I'm here to help you make the most of your crafty supplies and time. So let's get making. Today I have a paper busting template for A2 paper pads, so it's going to let you use this A2 paper pad without having any scraps. However, it also works for 8.5 by 11 paper, because if you cut 8.5 by 11 paper down to the A2 size or into 4 equal pieces, you can use the same thing. You'll just get more cards. So in this case, it makes one A2 piece of paper makes 2 A2 size cards. If you were to do this with 8.5 by 11 paper, there would be 4 sections, and then that would make 8 cards. So this is the Scrapbook.com winter collection. It's a new collection from Scrapbook.com, and they did send me these products to work with in exchange for design work. Currently, the shape dies, the stamp set, and the A2 paper pad on the day it's released is available as like a live stream bundle, a really good discount. So if you are interested in these brand new products, it is a great time, a great price for picking those up. This A2 paper busting template is available at jesscrafts.com, and there's going to be a link in the video description so that you can download this for free. And we're going to work with one of the paper pads and some of the dies and maybe some stamps for a sentiment later. I was looking in the collection and I wanted to use this cute little fox from the die set. I've cut out some of the pieces of him already. So I decided to go with what could be a more neutral look. There are a few papers that are maybe a little bit more feminine, whatever that means, in terms of having like florals, so maybe not appealing to everyone. There were some papers that had other animals on it that are like, so there's in the die set, there's this polar bear and the fox. So like I didn't want to use the polar bear paper or the bird paper with the fox. I kind of wanted to keep it all similar, and I also thought it might be fun to use the polar bear paper later with the polar bear, for instance. So ultimately I decided to pick out this stripe paper. I also liked it because I thought, since the stripe paper is pretty, there's a lot of color on it, not a lot of white space, I could maybe even not do a mat for one of my pieces, and that would save me a little bit of time. I'll talk about that more in a minute. So it says to start by cutting a square that is 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. So I'll cut 2 3/4 by 5.5, and then 2 3/4 again, which will cut this piece in half. Oh, messed up my measurement there. You gotta be careful. So now I have 2 3/4 by 2 3/4 squares. You don't have to worry about the measurements because again, you can download that sketch. And then I will have some 3-inch squares as mats for behind them. Then this piece is actually going to be what helps me create this stripe along the back. So even though, you know, if I were to just put this down on the card, it would only create one long stripe across the back. I have shown you how to cut it into pieces so that you can stretch it along the card and get a little more bang for your buck in terms of using your paper efficiently. Of course, you could always just you know, be inspired by the sketch and do it in a little bit simpler of a way. So it calls for this piece is 1.5 inches wide. That was what was left over. And then it calls for us to cut it to the 1-inch mark, which is marked on both sides on this particular paper trimmer. So I'll go to the 1-inch mark. I'll come to the 1-inch mark again, because I need 2 pieces like that. And then I need 2 pieces that are 1 3/4, and what's left should give me 1 3/4 on each side, and I can actually see that because of the measurements on each side. Okay, so now I have all my pieces. Because I'm going to use the stripes in the background, and there'll be this little piece at the top of the card and this bigger piece at the bottom of the card, I'm actually going to flip this one over and use the other side for my focal point. So I have centered the stripes. You can use like a grid mat to help you with that. You can just eyeball it. Another suggestion is if you have one of them and you know it's perfectly centered, you can take like a T-square ruler and use that to help you to line up the next one. Something you do want to consider is making sure that you're putting all the stripes facing in the same direction, because say I was to flip this over and then the stripes wouldn't line up from the top to the bottom. So in order for it to look the most like it's just one piece of paper, because that is kind of the illusion that we're going for, trying to line things up straight and making sure they're going in the same direction is kind of important to that. Now, if you're not doing stripes or something, some other patterns, you might be able to approach it differently, but I just wanted to highlight the things that I was considering there. And as you can see, this is just barely going to cover that whole area. In fact, only works because I put this mat around it. If I were to skip this mat, then it would actually just line up, precisely. The piece of paper would go just in there, which could look okay. No reason you couldn't do it that way, but I just wanted to kind of highlight again that the thing that I'm taking advantage of. Okay, so I have my 2 cards, and I want to pick a sentiment from the stamp set. I think that it's awesome that this die set comes with a sentiment. It says winter wishes. I like a nice generic winter sentiment. I think it's very useful, but I have the stamp set too, so why not give that a play? Your friendship warms my heart is super sweet. I have the little foxy that I want to use. I'll talk about assembling him in just a minute, but hello winter? I think he would look like, he could potentially look really cute sitting in that, but then his tail covers it. So it would be something that, this would be the instance where I would like to have the dies. They, because they will cut out the words in, generally, the scrapbook.com stamp sets, they also cut out the words, and then so you could actually place the word over his tail if you wanted. But I'm not gonna do that today. I think instead I need to consider, he's kind of looking off to the side. I maybe want to then draw your eye towards the sentiment with the way that he's looking and facing. So is there a smaller sentiment that could fit in there? This is stay cozy, Happy New Year. Maybe I'll just do a simple Happy New Year card, because why not? We're gonna need some of those soon. So, and then the other thing I could do, it's a little large for the space though, so let's cut it. I think most people know at this point. I feel like people have been talking about this for years. You could cut the stamp and then you can just put it right back together on the block. No worries, it doesn't hurt your stamp. They've never screamed at me when I did it. I know I played that joke the last time, but it's in my head, so I'm gonna say it again, okay? Are you here for the corny jokes? Okay, so then we can stamp that down. And if it's a new stamp, sometimes you want to like condition it a little bit, make sure it's going to give you a first impression of some residue from manufacturing. You can take a piece of leather or something else to kind of just scrape it along. And then I'll probably stamp it down in the navy. But let's talk about this die cut before I just finish up the card and ignore the fact that I magically made that box. Okay, so the scrapbook.com set, as you saw earlier, gives you a picture to show you how to assemble all of the pieces. That is super helpful. So I actually die cut this out of a combination of cardstock and some of the paper from the collection. So you can see the patterns on the other side, but there were some solid papers in the paper collection, and I hesitated to do that, but I did figure, honestly, I have so much paper. If I don't use every single piece of paper for the background of cards and I occasionally die cut it with it, I'm gonna be okay. There's more paper. There's always more paper. So I did use some of it for die cutting because I just wanted to make sure like the colors were the same tones and all of that. I don't know if there is a solid, like there's a some scrapbook.com pattern collections have coordinating solid collections. So I don't know if that'll be true for this particular collection, but that does happen sometimes. Okay, so I actually didn't even finish assembling that other fox, but I'm just gonna use some Barely Art glue to glue the layers down on what I actually really, really like this outline die. You can totally skip it, but I think it really gives him a little bit more presence on the card, especially because I've matted the pattern paper that he's going on top of was matted in the blue. Him being matted in the blue, I think it looks really cool. So then there's a little die in the set that will cut out eyes and noses. I'm not gonna do that. Everybody knows I'm not gonna do that. People who watch my channel know I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna draw it in. I'm gonna come to the edge here where you're supposed to put the nose, and I'm just gonna take a little black pen and draw it on. And then the same thing I did over here, I'm just gonna take the same black pen, and it's just like any old pen will do. Maybe not, I guess maybe not a ballpoint pen. This is like a felt tip pen, a marker kind of pen, but nothing fancy. And then I'm gonna put this down first because it's gonna kind of help me to know where the eye should go. I'm gonna look at the picture. Oh, I just knocked it right off. I'm gonna need to get some more glue. Also, there's a little bit of embossing on this die, and so I really love to use my Magic Mat when there's embossing on a die because it gives me a slightly deeper impression than using the plastic plates. Okay, hopefully I won't knock it off again. And then I'm gonna look at the back and I'm gonna see where they place the eye, just like I would if I was gluing it down. And instead, I'm just going to draw a little, they made it look a little more ovally, so I tried to mimic that same thing. So rather than drawing a circle, I drew an oval. Okay, then he needs his little tail. My scrapbook.com stack and sort trays are great for when I had to cut all the little pieces of something and then assemble it later. I like to, because here I'm making 2 cards at the same time. And so I was able to cut 2 sets of pieces and keep them nice and organized. Glue down his little white detail on his tail. Where does his bow tie go? Kind of right there in the center. I usually am one to say, hey, skip those tiny little, you know, that's just a little detail. You don't need it. And he certainly looks cute without it. You can pick which one you like, but especially because I'm going to make it a Happy New Year card, I think it's cute that he has a little dressed up bow tie. I pulled out my Lawn Fawn Deep Sea ink to no one's surprise. I use that one a lot. I want to pull in a little bit more blue since there's so much blue on the fox, and I do think gray would look really cute too, but I love navy blue. It's one of my favorite colors, even though it's kind of a neutral. And I'm going to stamp that. I'm going to make sure I leave it on the paper for a second, not just kind of quick press. Give it some time to sink in. Hopefully I get a great impression. If you don't, you can kind of fill it in a little bit with a marker if you do some more neutral colors, if you have a popular color you like. And also, you can just, it's okay. It's not perfect. Sometimes it dries out a little bit more evenly, but it's hardly noticeable anyway. You could also, of course, stamp on some scrap paper. This is, I don't think I actually have any on my desk, but sometimes I'll do this, and it's a little bit, I won't be very noticeable here, but I'll stamp like on the back of the die cut or on the back of something, like on the back of this piece of paper before I glue it down or something, because you're never gonna see it. And so rather than using a scrap of paper, use something that was basically trash. Well, not trash, that was going to be used anyway. Because, you know, you're gonna glue them down and you're never gonna see the back of him. Okay, get a nice, my ink's pooling a little bit today. I must have tapped too much. That's the other thing. Sometimes you like, you know, just tap it 10 times trying to get ink on there. And like, no, it got ink on the first couple times. You gotta relax a little bit. Okay, so Happy New Year. And then I thought, he's very, very simple. It's okay, I like simple cards. But I have the stamp set. So why not add some of these snowflakes? Because this is such stampable paper, not all pattern paper is gonna easily take stamps like this one is, but because it's almost like a semi-solid, it just has those whites, I think that some snowflakes will look really cute on here. I kind of want to spread them about. And you can always add a little pop of color to the center too. I think that will look really cute. I want another one here. I'm kind of trying to go for a bit of a visual triangle. So, and I'm trying to set a centered around the sentiment, and I'm over tapping still. We'll put that last one there so that it draws your attention around the triangle. You might want to spread yours out more, but taking advantage of that really stampable pattern paper, and that's it. So If you like this video, here's another video where you can find more ideas for enjoying your crafty time and supplies. Let me know you like this video with a share to your crafty community. Subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss the next template tutorial. And check the video description for product links, including, if you are watching this the day it comes out, checking out this new live stream deal if you really love the look of these guys, because you're going to be able to craft with them all winter long. This paper pad, super friendly. I think today's card absolutely could have just not been a winter card too. There's a couple of more like the stars, some things that are a little bit less wintry and more neutral. I always like to see that, some of those solid papers in there so that you can use it outside the season as well. Maybe turn your fox into an orange fox or something like that. See you in the next video.